Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sydney Roosters Diehards and welcome back to the news roundup. Obviously, we had this scheduled news roundup pre-recorded, edited, and ready to upload over the last couple of hours or so. But however, some breaking news has just sort of started to circulate around the social media over the last 15 minutes or so is that Mark Nawangani-Tawase is set to sign a 2-year deal with a Japanese rugby club. Just got the article here. Marky Mark 2027 destination has been revealed. 2-year deal, $1 million per season awaits in Japanese Division 1 rugby, with the Roosters leaving the door open for a return down the track as early as 2029. Obviously, it doesn't say what club he has signed for. It just says that he's going to Japanese rugby from 2027 in the preparation for the Home World Cup in Australia in 2027. He signed a 2-year deal as early as 2029. We can see him back in the NRL with the Roosters. I saw the optimism that I had with Marky Mark returning to the Roosters was how long this deal was going to be for Japanese rugby. We knew from about November that he was heading to rugby in the lead up to the Wallabies Home World Cup next year. But obviously I was keen to see on how long the deal was going to be, where it was. Obviously it was reported early that he wasn't going to be back in Super Rugby. I don't think he's signed with the Wallabies yet, but he's just signed with Japanese rugby at this stage. But obviously a 2-year deal. I was hoping for 1, but 2, it's not the end of the world here. Obviously, if it was a long-term deal, my hopes and optimism about Marky Mark returning would have faded. But obviously, a 2-year deal, there's still plenty of time, and definitely the door will definitely remain open for a Marky Mark return. So I just wanted to come on here and just quickly talk about this as it's just literally broke over the last 15 minutes or so. Had the Diehards scheduled video already up and edited and ready to go to post for tomorrow morning. But obviously all the time we're recording, or basically the time you guys see it. But obviously now this news is break, and we just had to share our thoughts on that one for you guys. Honestly, I'm not all that disappointed. Obviously, I'm disappointed to see him leave, of course, but it's not the end of the world. I think a 2-year deal definitely leaves room for Marky Mark to return, and all we can say is that Marky Mark will have one last year at the Roosters this season. He'll he'll train the house down. He'll play the best of his ability. Hopefully, we see him debut for the Blues later in the year. Hopefully, we see Marky Mark win a premiership before he heads off to rugby and potentially wins a World Cup for Australia. So we'll see how it goes. Just wanted to quickly jump on here and talk about it, as obviously this is just broken. We'll talk more about it Tuesday. Tonight, by the time of recording tonight, we'll jump on the Diehards news roundup as a live stream, and we'll go through and discuss it a little bit more deeper tonight sometime. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll tune back over to our scheduled news roundup from what was pre-recorded earlier today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Sydney Roosters Diehards. Haynesy here, and welcome to another episode of the news roundup, the weekend wrap-up. Not a lot of Roosters news talking about circulating over the weekend, so I thought I'd just shrink it all down into a little bit of a YouTube video for the next 15-20 minutes discussing the latest news talking points from the Sydney Roosters over the weekend. And hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and give us a follow on the Instagram as well. So we're going to go through a few things, a few quotes. Ruben Garrick was on the Matty Johns podcast talking about his final year at Manly and one of the reasons why he signed with the Sydney Roosters in 2027. We've also got a quote from Nick Davis, who is a goalkeeping coach at the Roosters, talking a little bit further about how the development of Hugo Savala this season, and how he's trained a house down and, doing his absolute best to fight his way into the 17 for the Sydney Roosters in 2026. And, of course, we'll finish it up with a quote from Luke Keary talking a little bit more about the Roosters-Rabbitohs rivalry. So strap yourselves in. Hope you guys like the video. Subscribe. Give us a follow on the Instagram page, Sydney Roosters Diehards, for your latest Roosters up-to-date news and opinions. And, obviously, if you like the content, hit that like button and subscribe as well. So thank you for watching. Right, so we'll get into the first point from today's video is Ruben Garrick on the Matty Johns podcast with Matty Johns and his son Cooper. Obviously, Cooper played a little bit with Manly with Ruben Garrick. Obviously, Ruben Garrick is obviously has signed with the Sydney Roosters for 2027. So he come on there. Obviously, they were asking about his departure from Manly on how, and obviously the talking a little bit about his final year at Manly, but he obviously spoke a little bit about his arrival at the Sydney Roosters next season. Speaking about obviously looking for a new challenge and a new perspective from a different club. Obviously, a lot of high praises from Cooper and Matty, talking about how well he trains and his work ethic and effort and all that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we signed him. I think he's a talented winger who has, done a lot for Manly. You can tell how much he loves Manly, how much he wants to put in. And I like the attitude from him, obviously going out there and saying like, I'm going to put all my heart and soul into Manly for one last season. And his goal wants to still win a premiership at Manly. He's got one more year to do so. So I like the attitude, I like the mindset that he's not already thinking about next season. He's got a job in hand for his club at the current club. And then obviously he's obviously really excited for the challenges ahead at the Roosters. So, which I do like the integrity and the attitude that Ruben Garrick is setting at the moment. But there was a little bit of a quote there. Shout out to the Matty Johns podcast with himself and Matty, and the Johns family do multiple podcasts throughout the week. Obviously just saw that as an Instagram reel today and heard these quotes. So I thought I wanted to add it in there because there really isn't not much to talk about in the Roosters' point of view this season. We also got a quote from Nick Davis, who was the goalkeeping coach of the Roosters. He was on SEN with Joel and Fletch on the drive home this afternoon. He was obviously asked about Hugo Savala and the way how he's settling in with his new role at the club potentially this season, and how he's embraced having DCE and Sam Walker in the halves, obviously learning a lot from both of them, and definitely trying to improve his game. One of the quotes says obviously from Nick Davis, saying that he's training the house down. He's one of the hardest workers so far. Obviously, he's got a point to prove. Hugo Savala, he's obviously, in a bit of a dog, but in a fight with either Benai Le'eu or maybe Connor Watson and a few others for that the interchange spot. Maybe he's also fighting DCE for that 6 jersey. So it's great to see that Hugo obviously is accepting, well, not really accepting, but he's sort of, taken on board the situation where you obviously got DCE and Sam Walker is tipped to be the halves pairing for 2026. He hasn't, thrown the toys out of the cot or anything like that. He's gotten straight to work. It's like, right, I want to fight, work my way into this team. I'm going to show Robbo and the coaching staff and prove why I deserve to be in the 17 each week. So love the mindset from Hugo Savala. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Fluff, and obviously it's a great attitude and great mindset that he's showing at the moment. So, which is really, really great to see.
He's training the house down.
So here's a quote here from Nick Davis.
Both in tandem with Sammy and Ches, and then on the other side of the ball too, he's been, and from my department, he's kicking the cover off it. So obviously, we were able to re-sign him for 3 years, which was off the back of his season last year. So yeah, Hugo Savala has probably been one that's been training the house down. For more like that, mate.
There we go. Actually, I didn't even see the end of that. So Hugo Savala's actually reported he's re-signed for 3 more seasons. So that's really great news. Obviously, we heard a little bit about it last month or so that Hugo was set to re-sign with the club for 3 years as well. That's really, really great to see. But obviously, their little quote there on the SEN with Joel and Fletch, Nick Davis was on there to say, Roosters kicking coach Nick Davis reveals Hugo Savala has been training the house down in pre-season. Obviously, it's also great to see that he's going to learn a lot of things with DCE and Sam Walker, which was always going to be the case. And obviously, that's one of the main reasons why I was, making sure that we had to re-sign Hugo Savala. And I'm sure as well, Toby Rodwell is also going to be in that situation as well, where he's going to learn a lot from DCE and Sam Walker. And that's what one of the pros why I liked the DCE signing was this kind of impact that he's going to have behind the scenes. With Hugo Savala, he's going to learn so much from him. Toby Rodwell is going to be in the same as well. So obviously, there's got to be a lot of people still negative about it, and that's completely fine. It's your opinion; you're entitled to it. I see the positive in the DCE right now, and you can start to see why the Roosters were keen on getting DCE when you have, raps when the goalkeeping coach Nick Davis comes on saying that Hugo's learned a lot from DCE already, and he's training the house down. So it's really, really good mindset. and just shows how you know the season that we're trying to build already. And obviously good to see that Hugo's goal kicking is starting to he's hitting him sweetly according to the coach, Nick Davis, the goal kicking coach. So that's also great to have. That obviously if Hugo is required to start or play where Sam Walker isn't, we've got a goal kicker there in another goal kicking option in Hugo Savala. So great to see the Fluff working hard and yeah, he's definitely putting his case forward and why he wants to be part of the 17 each week, because he's training the house down and showing a lot of fight, a lot of effort to retain the side. So which is great to see. And lastly, Luke Keary, who is part of the Roosters coaching staff this season and part of the club in 2026, has obviously come on SCN with Adam Peacock today as well, talking about a little bit more. It was asked about the rivalry between the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. Obviously, he's played on both sides of the rivalry. He won a premiership with South in 2014. He's also, Club Churchill medalist with the Roosters, 18 and 19 premiership winner, and played longer at the club as well. Obviously, speaking a little bit more about the rivalry itself. Obviously, saying that it feels like that South Sydney hates the Roosters more than we hate Souths. It's hard to say. Like, I hate Souths, right? So obviously I can't speak for every Roosters fan what they feel about Souths, and I can't obviously speak on how Souths fans feel about us. But obviously we can tell there's a lot of mutual hate between the both of us. Look, obviously it's hard to say, but obviously he's been on both sides, so I'm not going to say that he's lying or not. But I can definitely say how South Sydney are a little bit obsessed with the Roosters, where they're sort of, trying to take parts away from us. Obviously they think of us as the glamour club while they're the battlers. Well, you can't claim that you're not in Redfern anymore. You're in Maroubra. You're in Heffron, which is, it's near the water. You're in a really nice area. You can't claim that you guys are the battlers and we're the latte sippers and all that when you're literally part of a posh area in Sydney. You're not far from Coogee, which is still our area, by the way. I don't care what any South fan says, but there's so many parts of this rivalry. There is literally not enough time in this video to go through between the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. But the long story short is they hate us, we hate them, and regardless on what side of the fence you're on, the putrid hatred between the two clubs is raw, it's real, and it's emotional. So, obviously, like I said, I'm not going to speak entirely how South fans feel about us. I'm obviously not going to speak for every Roosters fan on how they feel about South, but I hate South more than any other club. And I'm sure they feel the same way about us. So I can see a point why Luke Keary was has said that about them, why maybe South Sydney hate the Roosters more than we hate the South, because we couldn't give, probably between the, I'm sure Roosters fans in that time can definitely agree or disagree on my take here, but it felt like the early 90s was like we couldn't give a rat's ass about South Sydney because they were just absolutely awful. And then obviously our main rivalry is probably St. George and the Bulldogs. So, and then obviously that and the rivalry picked up again. But it's so good for the game, to be fair. As much as we hate South, as much as we crap on the fact that they got kicked out of the comp, which is funny, and we will still joke about that till the end of time. It's great for the game that we have a rivalry as strong and healthy as the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. And obviously, South Sydney has always had a hatred for the Roosters. We've always hated South, but we just couldn't give a crap in the 90s and the early 2000s. But it's great now that we've, that's a drift has sailed, and yet we are back on locked horns, both hating each other and obviously fighting over a stadium that doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us. And, it's just good fun. So, and obviously that's all the quotes for me. And obviously just wanted to quickly touch on the lower grade trial games over the weekend. Despite absolutely awful conditions, but obviously the Harold Matts and SG Ball teams had a trial over the weekend. I think it was like a 3-way trial kind of thing where I think we took on the Steelers and the Central Coast Roosters, who was also a defeated side. So obviously we played the Steelers, then we would have played Central Coast for 20 minutes. So 20 minutes, and then the Steelers would have played the Central Coast in all up a 60-minute trial, by 20 minutes between both for those three games or kind of thing. Same thing with the SG Ball. So don't have the Central Coast scores on me, but I do have the Roosters. The Steelers did beat our Harold Matts team 8-0 in that 20-minute game, while we defeated the Central Coast side 12-0 in the other 20 minutes there. And I'm not sure what the Steelers and Central Coast score to be honest with you. And then obviously SG Ball, we defeated both the Steelers and Central Coast in those 20-minute games, 16 points to 0. Shout out, I think it's the short ball. Is it the short ball there? The short ball, I think that's the website. I saw that. Shout out to them. Give them a follow. They've got all the posting a lot of the lower grades over. And they just highlighted some players featured in that game. To look out for, obviously, the SG Ball side are the reigning premiers. Brock Elliott, 5'8". Joshua Folosai on the wing. Zaylen Ikapati at fullback. Darcy Smith back row. Carter Markeo at halfback. So that's another halfback in the ranks as well. Obviously, the SG Ball side did win the premiership last season, and they will be looking to be as strong as ever going into that game as well. So players to watch for both the Roosters and Central Coast sides in going into this. Obviously, we do have a relationship with the Central Coast side, but we do have both teams in that competition. Obviously, main talking point here is there's 2 Toyas in the centres alongside. There's 3 Toyas at the club at the moment. We've got Andy Toya at centre and Harold Matz. And we've also got Mana Toya at centre for the Roosters as well. And mind you, correct, they are related to brother Rob Toya. So there's a few other Toyas in the ranks going forward in the near future. Marky Sando at lock. What a name, by the way. Another player to watch. Sam Large at 5'8". For the Central Coast team, Matt Norman at halfback and Cooper Smith at lock. So there's some great talent, or CBAs, as Rugby League Guru likes to say, in the near future for us. So keep an eye out, guys. Obviously, the Bar TV is the only place where you can watch every game of New South Wales Rugby League competitions and the lower grades from Harold Matz all the way through the New South Wales Cup. That's the one place there. They will be streaming most trial games over the weekend before their season kicks off in the next couple of weeks or so. So that's all for me. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and give us a follow on the Sydney Roosters Diehards for your latest Roosters news, updates, and opinions from the Sydney Roosters from the day it was. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, bye for now. Up for chooks.